All right, today we're cackling something, well, it's pretty dense, but honestly, it's one of the most fascinating ideas I've come across. We're breaking down an analysis of a system called delta T squared, which is this really radical take on how we could organize ourselves as a civilization.
So the whole thing kicks off with this really big and kind of scary question. You look at our world, right? All our complex systems, our governments, our global supply chains. What if they're not as strong as we think they are? What if they're actually brittle? And if that's true, what on earth comes next?
And that's exactly where this concept, delta T squared, comes into the picture. It's pitched as a whole new way of coordinating human activity, one that tries to get rid of both top-down hierarchies and abstract ivory tower theories. Sounds pretty wild, right? So let's actually dig into what that really means. To really get our heads around this thing, we've got to start with two foundational ideas that make it so different from everything we're used to. And trust me, these principles really challenge the way we normally think about power and knowledge. Okay, so the first big idea basically throws out the classic pyramid structure we all know. The boss at the top and then layers of management all the way down. The system calls that vertical compression. Instead, it offers, well, get ready for it, transversal transjectivity. Yeah, I know, it's a total mouthful, but all it really means is coordination without a central command. Think less like a pyramid and more like a resilient mesh network where things get done organically. The second core principle is also a doozy. It's called non-autoanthropology, but don't let the names scare you off. The idea at its heart is actually pretty intuitive. It's a complete rejection of the notion that we can understand and manage the world just through spreadsheets, data models, and abstract plans. It argues that real, useful knowledge can't be separated from direct, hands-on, get-your-hands-dirty experience. And the source material just nails this idea with this quote. Wow. So what does that mean in practice? It means that in this system, authority doesn't come from a fancy diploma on your wall or a title on your business card. It comes from competence. It comes from whether your ideas actually work when they meet reality. It's a massive shift from authority based on knowing to authority based on doing. Okay, so that's the big picture theory. But you're probably wondering, how does any of this stuff actually work in the real world? Well, the text we're analyzing gives us a case study. It looks at a specific implementation of this system called Kinemagora, and this is where we get to see the theory in action. And this is where things get really interesting. The analysis points to the idea that a building, the architecture itself, can serve as a kind of memory. This Kinemagorian mansion isn't just a house. Every part of it is teaching you something. The fact that it's off-grid, that screams independence. That it's hand-built, that encodes the value of real labor. The whole structure is basically a physical textbook, passing down the system's values from one generation to the next. So how does a system like this keep itself healthy? It uses what it calls a maintenance cycle. And the argument here is that most of our modern systems are obsessed with meta. That's endless analysis. And extra. That's all the social rules and bureaucracy. DT Square says, nope, you've got it completely backward. It argues the real foundation, the stuff you have to build first, is ultra, your purpose, your why, and intra, your physical health and your actual capacity to do things. Those aren't luxuries you get to later, they're the bedrock, they're infrastructure. Even the language used in this system is treated like a piece of technology. You see all these dense, unique words, and you might think it's just being difficult for the sake of it, but it's actually a strategic choice. On one hand, it's a super precise shorthand for people inside the system. But on the other, it creates a high barrier to entry. It prevents the core ideas from being easily watered down or co-opted by outsiders. It's a feature, not a bug. Now, let's be really clear. The analysis does not paint this as some kind of perfect utopia. Far from it. This whole system is framed as a wager, a bet on what the future might look like. And just like any big bet, it comes with some very real risks and potential ways it could fail. And the text lays out 4 key ways it could all go wrong. And what's interesting is, it's not about some dramatic explosion. It's more like a slow, internal decay. A charismatic founder's competence could harden into rigid dogma. The special language could devolve into meaningless jargon. The next generation might inherit the vocabulary, but not the discipline. Or, and I think this is the most fascinating risk, what if the world just stays fine? What if our big centralized systems hold together? Well, then this whole project might just become irrelevant.
To keep this from just being some abstract sci-fi concept, the analysis grounds it with some historical comparisons. It's a bit like old monastic orders, with their focus on real work and thinking in the long term. But it's the total opposite of modern charter cities, which depend entirely on outside laws and political stability. Really, the closest fit is those small, tough frontier groups, the ones that survived by being highly competent and easily replicable, not by trying to become a giant state. So, you see what the bet really is, right? It's a gamble that the future isn't going to be about ever larger, hyper-efficient global structures. It's a bet that in a world of growing fragility and distrust, the winning strategy isn't going to be scale, it's going to be resilience. That a small thing that's hard to break is way more valuable than a big thing that's brittle. And this brings us to the most surprising part of the whole analysis. This is the point where the true purpose and, more importantly, the true scale of this grand civilizational engine is finally revealed, and it's probably not what you're expecting. After all this complex theory, all this talk about organizing society and geopolitics, the analysis just pulls the rug out from under you. It states flatly that delta T squared is not a project to build a new civilization. It's a household strategy. That's it. That's the big twist. This entire, massive, intricate system, it was never about building an empire or a new society. The fundamental unit, the engine at the heart of it all, is designed to be a single functional household. So the dream here isn't to change the world. It's actually something much more modest and maybe way more powerful. The goal is to create one small, self-reliant unit that just works. A roof that doesn't leak, children who know how to think and how to fix things. Adults who aren't terrified of the future. It's about finding real joy that comes from being competent, not from just consuming things. And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? The strength of this system isn't about power in the way we usually think about it. It's not about winning or conquering anything. Its power is quiet, durable competence. It's about endurance. And so the analysis leaves us with this final, really provocative thought. What if we've been looking for resilience in all the wrong places? What if the most durable system you can build isn't a massive empire, but simply a family that has the skills, the meaning, and the structure to know exactly what to do tomorrow morning?